Hello, everyone. I'm Gayleen Rogers Lonergan, and I want to welcome you to our latest installment of Legal Answers Just for Real Estate. Today, we're really fortunate to have David Pinnell here with us. David is been involved in real estate for over 21 years, former Marine, former police officer, and his specialty is working with properties that are involved in an heirship or probate situation and helping families that are in that situation deal with their real estate sales. So welcome, David.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, y'all.
All right, so let me just start off and ask you, when a family inherits a home, what are the biggest or most common mistakes that they generally make in the very beginning? And how could they possibly avoid those?
You know, the first thing that comes to mind is just most families get stuck. They get stuck in like quicksand, especially if you're assigned on the will to be an executor. You have such a huge responsibility, or you think you do. And you think that the attorney has everything handled.
Mm-hmm.
So you get stuck, and then the grief sets in. You get through the certain phases of that process. You know, can I say the word suck? It sucks to lose a family member.
Absolutely.
It sucks to lose a family member, but you know, the moment somebody dies, if there's a house involved or there are other assets, a car or items in the house, everything increases, the cost of that increases.
That's right. You're losing money every day that goes by. And yes, and a lot of attorneys, I'll just tell you, state attorneys, they don't necessarily understand the issues involved with a deceased person's real estate. So
Right.
It's very helpful for them to have someone else who knows kind of how to deal with that.
From the date of the death, people assume that everything just stays the same, but once you have that death certificate on the family side, the taxes will increase. You got to keep the house maintained. There's a lot of things that are probably overlooked while you're trying to grieve for someone's loss.
Right.
And then you have the attorney trying to give you advice that doesn't really match up with
That's
the title
right.
company.
That's right.
So
Yeah, it's an extremely emotional time, and it's hard sometimes to
yeah,
keep a clear head on what to do. I do try when I help people with their trust or their wills or whatever to let them know that they do need to reach out to that the real estate issue is going to be one of their biggest issues to deal with.
Yep. And most times it funds the whole probate process.
That's right.
So
That's right. So you have worked extensively with these probate opportunities. And so let's talk about the leads from probate matters and what separates the investors or professionals who successfully engage those families from those who don't.
the ones that care.
Isn't that true? Isn't
Empathy.
that so true?
I early in my career, I just, you read the sales books and these people sell us the leads online now. All these AI, all this software, they scrape the county records, and the families have to know that from the beginning that their information is public now. If there's no trust.
Correct.
So if there's a will filed and probate filed, the application filed, it's all public information. So you're going to get, on top of the already spam calls you get, you're going to get investor calls. And from an investor standpoint, or from a realtor standpoint, we do want to reach out and try to help the families, but they don't know that we're different from these investors that are out around the world, outside the country, around the US or just in Texas. They're trying to benefit themselves, not the family.
Right.
So I think the leads go cold because people will try to reach out too early because that's what they're taught. Reach out in the first week before anybody else touches them. And then they send one letter, they make a couple calls, and then they give up on that person. And then they miss out the opportunity to really get to know the family. So when we try not to make the initial call. Actually, we stopped a couple years back. We just send letters, and then we make these videos online on YouTube to try to build trust and educate people through the process of real estate. And eventually they reach out, and I'm helping one guy right now. He got letters of testamentary almost 4 years ago. No, wait, 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And now the family, the other siblings are forcing his hand because he hasn't dealt with it.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing I know because I deal in the real estate area, in the title area with these probate issues all the time. And yeah, sometimes a property will sit there because it's too emotional for the family to even deal with it, sometimes for quite some time.
Yeah,
When you're dealing with someone's home that they grew up in and whatnot. I mean, I have had
that's the first
closings.
question I ask.
Yeah, I have had closings where the sellers just sat here and cried the whole closing. That they were sad to be selling their home, their childhood home.
Yeah,
But you know, it is important, and that's what we try to do also is if you can't trust me, you're not gonna pay attention to what I tell you.
no, or if
So-
you're not ready for it either.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. So, yeah, that's an issue, and the way people are being trained on how to go after leads is not necessarily the right way.
I mean,
Okay.
it's what sells, and I got a coach that I used to pay a lot, and he's all about the phone call, and I'm like, man, it's just changing.
Mhm.
People don't want the phone call anymore.
They're getting bombarded.
Yeah,
They're getting bombarded with
you guys are
letters.
too attorneys, right?
Yes,
Probate,
yeah, they
so
get bombarded with letters, phone calls, and that, if it's too early, they're
they're
gonna
just
just
overwhelmed.
toss it. They're
Yeah.
just gonna toss it. And this kind of follows into this next question. So inherited properties often come with grief and family dynamics. How do you balance being a compassionate resource while still moving the deal forward?
Yeah, just being honest with people, giving them options. We give 3 options. We'll talk about it a little later, but we we meet them where they're at, especially if it's mom's house or dad's house or grandma's house. We meet them where we're at. We're not trying to. We buy houses too. We like to remodel. We like to build, but the relationship is not worth the transaction, I guess.
Right,
And I don't want ever to have a bad review online. So I want it to be a win for the family, a win for me, and then I want to ask for permission to publicize our story. And
right,
and on my YouTube channel, I've got over
right.
200 videos of reviews of people sitting at the closing table that made more money working with us in the same time frame that they wanted to work with an investor.
Right, yeah, and the other thing I find often is the investors don't tell the family the truth.
Yeah,
They tell them that they want to remodel it and move into it, when all they're trying to do is flip the contract.
yeah, yeah.
And if that comes out, if that family ever finds that out, then good luck with actually consummating that transaction.
Right.
Um,
Always ask for deposits.
absolutely.
I just sold, when I first got into real estate, it was all about when they send the offer written to a realtor, they would send the checks along with it or the proof of funds. Nowadays, when someone sends an offer, they rarely ever send proof of funds. And if they do, it's from some investment company that just wrote a letter saying, oh, this person's credible. And that letter is just generated online somewhere. So I want to see actual accounts. I want to call the bank to make sure they won't give you the information, but you can verify that they have an account at the bank and the funds are in the bank. That's one step that we do. And we just did that for a family. And we require 7,500 to 10 grand as non-refundable deposits. And it usually eliminates 80% of these investors.
Yeah, that to make that kind of investment up front, they would have to be a truly serious buyer.
Yep.
Right.
It's called the end buyer in my business. You want the end buyer, and they're gonna always pay according to what they have to do for repairs.
Yeah. Well, okay. And so you've been involved in what's called partnership remodels, where investors and homeowners work together to improve an inherited property before selling it.
Mhm.
Can you walk us through that structure and how it can change the financial outcome for the family?
Yeah, especially, if they qualify, they're on the same page, that's not contested, and the family has an agreement to sell the property. We could definitely partner up where it doesn't take any money from the family up front. It takes a little bit more time because we're gonna go in and make the property more presentable and financeable. Because you're gonna lose, if you're only looking for investors. I like to say the 80-20 rule, but really, when you're selling to a cash investor, you're less than 6% of the buyer pool.
Right.
And if you have a house in Colleyville, Dallas, or any of these cities, and it's an average price of 200 to 450, on average median house in the Metroplex, you could do a little bit of cleanup. Now, there's not major issues like a foundation or something structurally wrong with the property. I can guarantee you I can make you more money than the highest written offer from an investor.
Yeah, and I guess the big problem for the family is they don't want to spend any money
Yeah,
to do that remodel, to do that. And that's where you kind of come in and y'all partner
Yep.
to do that.
We don't talk about it much because, it has to be vacant. They can't move back into it once we do the remodel. We are gonna do an agreement where there's interest paid on the money we do, and a mechanics lien put on the property if we do, but that just protects us or any investor.
Right.
We wanna make sure we're gonna sell the property if we're gonna do this. We're not gonna improve a property so a sibling can move back into the property.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I have seen that happen
Me too.
before. Absolutely. Yeah, and so it ends up being a win-win for everybody.
Yes, and then I get a good story on, usually they wanna jump on YouTube and,
Yeah, sure. If they
and
make
share
more
it.
money, you can make them more money. I'm sure they would be more than willing to do so.
Yeah, I got a good story at the end of this for that.
All right, great, great. Let's see, how do partnership remodels or strategic pre-sale improvements open up better financing options for buyers? And why does that matter when it comes to the final sales price?
Because, let's just say someone has a house as is. And let's just 80% of your buyers are gonna need a mortgage loan. I would say even 95% of your buyer pool is gonna need a loan to buy a house. They don't have any money necessarily to put down and make repairs. So
Mhm.
when you make a house more financeable, the price is always gonna increase because you have more buyer pool.
Mhm. Well, I have someone very close to me that is going through that process, trying to buy a family member's home, a deceased family member's home that needs to be fixed up, and they don't, and like you said, the money up front is difficult.
Yeah.
But it's a process that definitely needs a professional to help walk them through that.
Yeah, and people make decisions. They're so overwhelmed in this process, at least the families, that they want to take a quick offer. They want to just give away items or trash items in the house that may be valuable if they just hired a professional estate sale company.
Right.
And I hate to say professional realtor, but find someone that actually specializes in.
And
I could go to a house and tell you what you need to do to it in probably 15 minutes because I've done over 250 remodels.
right.
We built houses since I was 19 years old. It's just, when you have that, and I could say, hey, look, if you just did this to the house, we're gonna open ourselves up to 80% of the market or more. And if you just have the time frame to do it, and sometimes it's 21 days, sometimes it's 120 days, but those days go by fast.
Oh, yeah.
And then you benefit big time.
Yeah, well, it is extremely important to deal with someone that is familiar with what their process is, familiar with probate. Same thing here with us. We work with so many heirship and probate issues that, whenever we get a file from someone like you, we know exactly what needs to be done, how to do it, and how long it's going to take to do, and we can be honest with everyone that this is what we're going to do, and then we immediately start working to get it to the closing as soon as possible.
Yeah, and that's another good topic because when you call us early in the process, I know they're probably overwhelmed. They're trying to do inventories. They're trying to meet their attorney's demands or advice. But getting a title company involved early or a real estate agent, like I'm working on a house right now. We're doing the 21-day strategy that I offer, and we're doing the title work up front so that we get there. So they have solar panels, they have
gosh.
they have a divorce, they have different
Yeah.
mortgages. We don't have the payoff of the mortgage yet. So if you get a hold of us early and don't make a quick decision, you're not gonna put yourself in a loop where if you have an investor under contract, which she likes to talk about the most is memorandums of contract
Right.
that
deal with those.
stall purchases
Oh,
for
wow.
years.
That's
So,
so true. Luckily, state of Texas trying to address that, but
yeah,
yeah, what I always tell people is tell me what, I need to know what I don't know.
Yeah.
When someone sends us a file, if it is an heirship situation, if there has been a divorce, if there has been these kind of issues, if you know about them, tell me about them up front and we can immediately start working on them. If we have to wait until the title report comes out and then see all that, I mean, we can immediately start working on heirship affidavits and things like that, as long as we know that there's that situation. We're getting certified copies of things or whatever we need to do. But if we don't know, then it slows the process down.
predictable is profitable.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So, would you share an example about a family that was facing a difficult inheritance situation and how your approach, whether it's through an estate sale, remodel, partnership, or other strategy, completely changed the outcome?
Yeah, so we offer three, I don't talk about the third option, it's the partnership, but I mainly help people sell their house under 21 days. In a coming soon process, we get the best photos and then we put the house online at the best attractive price. But there's a lady that I just actually closed on. She's from Michigan. Her mother died here and, her house is built in 1983 in kind of the East Fort Worth area. So it's a brick, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house. No updates to it. Nothing really wrong with it. She got
Just dated.
Yeah, she got the foundation done. She got an AC done. Everything common we see, the windows, every salesperson that came by, she went ahead and got that improvement over the years, but never did anything interior. So now the mother has passed away, unfortunately. And then these siblings had to deal with the house. And the lady in Michigan was the oldest daughter. Of course, she's the
She's the
executor.
one that takes charge, yes.
The youngest brother wanted to hang on to the property for the best price. He wanted to hold out. He actually probably wanted to live there. And then the middle sister, she just wants to buy a brand new car from the inheritance. So she wants to hurry up and get this done. So I gave her the options. I told her what they need to hear and laid it all out. I gave them the comps. And they decided to sell with us on our 21-day strategy where we come in, we clean the house up, we broom sweep it, we present it to the market the best we can, change the light bulbs out, get the utilities on if they're off. And then we list it for 14 days and then we show it at one open house. And the price is set to be so attractive that it encourages multiple offers on the property. So instead of doing just a private sale, they won a quick story. They got 47,000 more than the highest written offer. Even when they got that check in the mail, you know, those investors send that fake check
Yes,
of the tax value and say, yeah, I could pay you this. Then they show up, it's $100,000 less.
yeah.
But we got them $47,000 more. All the siblings were fighting up to the point where I was involved. They settled their disagreements and we just closed a couple weeks ago.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And then so the sister got the car and
I hope
everything
they got the
worked
money.
out. Everybody got their money. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So I think they were gonna take an offer for like 90 grand or something. But we got them 47 more, so 130-ish. It was a
Oh,
low
that's
house,
great.
but still,
Well, I hear stories, horror stories from my clients that buy properties from these type of properties where they say that certain investors essentially start threatening
mhm.
the family if they don't take their offer.
If they don't sign here now,
That's
the
right.
price increases. I love that statement.
That's right. And I'm like, that is so.
We don't do that.
That is so not right. And and sometimes they'll go ahead and sign and because they're under duress.
Yeah.
And then that creates a real problem for them.
Yep. You know, we have wholesale properties ourselves too, but I disclose it all to them because I don't want to lose my broker's license. I don't want to have any kind of bad juju. I don't want to have any
Right.
karma. So if they want a quick offer, they want something written, and they want that number to be solidified, I guess, we could do that. We could buy the house. But I prefer to help them sell it online the same way, not a private sale. So it's just, if we can, it's just creating the good stories. I've
Yeah,
always heard that
exactly.
if you help one person, they'll tell 10.
That's absolutely true. And if you don't,
They'll tell 100.
they'll tell 100 online. They'll tell 100
Yeah,
online. That's
yeah.
right. But yeah, that's what that's kind of my philosophy. Do good by people and it'll come back to you.
Yeah, and you can tell, if you go to my YouTube channel, I have 250 videos. Most of them are referral videos, people sitting at the closing table, chanting about what we did for them.
That's the best advertising you can get.
Yeah.
Well, okay, David, this has been very informative. Can you just tell us a little bit more about Cities Real Estate and how people could get in touch with you?
Sure. So Dave Pennell, I was in the Marine Corps, so very disciplined. I used to be, for a little bit, a cop in Arlington, but I found my passion in real estate when we bought a first house when I got out of the Marine Corps and flipped it and made a total of $5,000. It was the best ever. No, we did everything to the house over 6 months. It was a waste of time. So, but I learned through the process, and now we're 21 years in, and I don't need to buy any house. You don't need to hire me. If you want to call and just ask questions and get market values and understand what the house looks like in your neighborhood on the street or in the school district of what the values are selling for, I'll send it to you. But you have to request it because Texas is a non-disclosure state. So I just don't private sell your property if you don't have to. If you got a neighbor that wants to buy it, just verify where their funds are coming from. If you have a friend that wants to buy it, maybe just seek out the market, see if you could get more money for the property instead of just a quick sale.
Yeah, exactly. Because maybe maybe the neighbor or friend, if they know, maybe they don't even know what the true value is, and if they may be willing to buy it for that higher price.
I from that, to go off on a tangent, but I get that a lot from families in probate. They want to sell to a neighbor because they know the house is in probate because the grass is high or the condition's bad.
Right.
And then they, one guy's still waiting 2 years for the buyer to close, his son, and still waiting for him to just apply for the loan, but he let him move in. So
no.
So now he has that situation.
No.
So don't do that.
Never let anyone move in until it's closed.
Yeah.
Unless there's some truly extreme circumstance and you've protected yourself some other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great discussion and a lot of great information. How can people get in touch with you?
There on this, I'll send you guys a calendar link to put in the description here.
Okay.
Or go to citiesrealestate.com and there's a link in the header that says contact. I'm sorry, I would love to give you a phone number, but due to all the spam calls, I just prefer you schedule a time with me. That way we could spend 15, 30 minutes one-on-one and you're not calling and hitting my voicemail. Because
that's just the way of the world now.
Yeah, I think they wanted to train us that way. I have a strong suspicion that these companies wanted you to not answer your phone anymore.
Yeah, I think that could be, absolutely. Well, anyway, thank you so much. And we will see you all on our next installment of Legal Answers Just for Real Estate.
Look me up on YouTube, David Pennell, broker. You can find my channel and this one.
Very good.
Thank
you so much.
Bye-bye.